Hello, hello, good morning. Well, it's morning here where I'm filming. And welcome to the weekly reading. This week we are really feeling quite strong mercurial energy because today, Monday, Mercury is leaving his shadow zone and later in the week leaving Aries altogether and stepping into Taurus. Because Mercury was retrograde in Aries, this was a very long trip, and it was a bit strange because Mercury likes to move quite fast ideally, and so does Aries like to be fast. And here Mercury had to be very reflective in the somewhat impulsive and impatient sign of Aries. And I would say that Mercury can be pretty impatient as well. So this has really kind of pushed us beyond our comfort zone. You might look at it as when a young child is learning that they have to wait for something, because Aries has that really young child energy, and they are not very patient to wait, and they don't really understand waiting. And that's kind of where we've had to be in the last little while. So Mercury feels like he's really a big part of this weekly reading. We also have a first quarter moon in Leo. If you have strong Mercury, I would particularly pay attention to how you are feeling this week. And you have strong Mercury, there's different ways for you to have strong Mercury, but the most common way to look is if you would have your sun, moon, or rising sign in the signs of Gemini or Virgo, both of which are ruled by Mercury. Or even if you have Mercury retrograde in your chart, then I would have a look at that as well. So Mercury is moving into the sign of Taurus, at which point we'll have 5 planets in Taurus, which is quite a lot. So Taurus is all about the 5 senses, and rosemary is a oil or a herb that is known to be for remembrance. And I really feel like it's after such a big reflection, it's time for us to kind of really remember who we are and ground ourselves, because Taurus energy is very foundational. It's very like, okay, something has started, now we have to actually put in the work to get the building started, to put one brick on top of the other, to put one step in front of the other, and so on and so forth. Okay, so remember, this is not a personal reading, it is a collective reading, but if you choose a card between 1 and 4, you will get a slightly stronger personalized part of this reading. And sorry, I didn't mention copaiba oil. It's really one of my favorites. It's a beautiful earthy energy, and it's also very good for anti-inflammatory, bearing in mind that Aries is a fire sign. So as we're kind of lessening into the Aries. Oh, and one more thing I might mention is that this whole week we still have Venus in her own home sign of Taurus and Mars in his own home sign of Aries. So Venus and Mars are really operating at full capacity. Okay, pick a number between 1 and 4 and let's look at our cards. Right, that is the big picture for the week, and you might notice that we have 3 Wands cards. We have no major arcana this week. For me, that kind of says give yourself this week to consolidate a little, because remember, the major arcana are kind of like the out of control aspects of our life, where it's like big themes that we almost can't avoid. Whereas when we're sitting looking at the minor arcana, we have a little bit more agency in our life. And then court cards, the king, for example, can represent yourself or another person in your life. And as you can see, we've got 2 upside down, 2 upright, and we have 3 wands and 1 pentacle. So wands is fire, and we said Aries is fire. Also, there's a bit of momentum now, with especially if we think about Mercury. He's gaining momentum once he gets out of his shadow, and he's going to start moving faster and faster. But we start with the 2 of Pentacles, and anytime we have 2s, we're kind of in a choice point. And with the 2, it's very much the material and the spiritual. You can see this one's somewhat ethereal, that particular pentacle. And it's trying to balance, say, work life and our spiritual life, or home life and our internal world, the self-work. And when it's upside down, it feels like we're feeling, and especially because this is the first card of the week, I also do feel as if this is maybe where we start the week, and then we will kind of progress into the wands, but it's a little bit of a up and down kind of feeling this week. But with the 2 of Pentacles upside down, we might be struggling to strike that balance, and we might be finding a bit of resistance. and we may be overly investing in one area of our life over another. And of course, we don't just have two areas of our life, but just for the sake of this card. So you could really put any two major areas of your life, and you might find, I've been so focused on my work, I've neglected my home life, or I've been so focused on my home life and the duties. Remember that Earth can have the duty, responsibility, sort of mundane daily tasks. I've been so busy on focusing on that, I've neglected my creativity or my inner work. And so we need to have a look at what it is. You need to personally go, where is it that I feel like I've been over-investing and under-investing, because I need to find some balance. Twos always want us to come into some kind of a balance. Then we have two quite highly energized and positive cards. In fact, the Six of Wands is a very positive card, except we have got it upside down. So that is also going to bring a slightly different feel to it. But the King of Wands is a very benevolent, energized, powerful, potent. You can see the lion or the Leo's energy in the background there. He is a real leader. He is a very charismatic chap. So it's as if we feel that forward momentum, and we suddenly feel this burst of confidence and capability, and it's very celebratory with the Four of Wands here. This is something to celebrate. So if there is something, it could be the birth of a baby, a marriage, a promotion at work. It could be any number of things that we could celebrate. Maybe you finished a big project and you want to celebrate. There's a feeling of, I'm the boss, I'm bossing it. Let's celebrate. It's time to let my hair down a little, which again could kind of come to the balance there. Maybe the place where you've been overdoing, you finally go, okay, but I have completed a goal or a target that I had, and now I can, feel good about myself, feel confident and gregarious, and I can take a little time to relax, let my hair down, celebrate, play, be joyful, not just so serious all the time. But then we loop back, and I must say, I don't always speak into my readings as if it's like start the week and end the week. But you can read that way. I don't always specifically look at it that way. I kind of look at it as a whole energetic picture for the week. But this week it does really feel a little bit like an order of the week. So we kind of start with this somewhat indecisive, something's not quite fitting, I'm a little uncomfortable, I don't know what to do, but then hitting this breakthrough moment where we're like, yes, I'm on top of it, I'm doing what needs doing, it's worth having a party over, I'm so proud of myself. Something I just want to mention about Leo energy, or fire energy in general, but Leo energy is often, we say, one of the shadow traits of Leo is pride. And there is the pride comes before the fall. But there's also the pride that Leo has, their family is their pride, literally and figuratively. So it's also when we find that balance, you might find that suddenly I'm feeling really proud of what I've done with my family, how I've invested in my tribe. And your tribe could be your friend group. It can be anything. And you're just feeling on top of the world. And then suddenly this card in its upright form is absolutely celebrate. We've made it. You can see she's in the winner's circle. Oh, sorry, I just had to have a little cough there again. She's in the winner's circle. She's feeling so good about herself. She's in the limelight. She won the race. She put in the effort. She put in the training. And this is the reaping the reward. But it's upside down. So there might be a sense of, you do all of this and then you go, but nobody's really recognizing me for what I've done here. I was recognizing myself. I was feeling good about myself. But nobody else seems to have noticed. And I can use a really good example with this. It's like, and most of the world celebrated Mother's Day yesterday. And I think for us mothers, it's oftentimes like, oh, yeah, it's our day. And then this feeling of, nobody really cares. And there we were hoping for, finally, the one day of the year we get recognition and, just get to behave like a queen. So I know this is a king, but, and then nobody really notices that it's Mother's Day, or even if they do,
children will never really be able to appreciate what it is to be a mother and what a mother does for them, because it's just not in the nature of children. So it's a little disappointing, like, oh, fine, nobody's even noticed, or that big job you did at work, nobody's giving me the praise I feel I deserve. Because fire, which is the primary part of this whole reading, fire wants to be recognized, wants to be seen, wants to be praised. And it sort of starts at this point in the, well, not starts, but in the middle of this reading, in the middle of the week, we're kind of doing that for ourselves, which is a good thing. We're building ourselves up. We're feeling good about ourselves. We're taking the time to celebrate ourselves. But then that confidence drops, because now we're like, well, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe what I did wasn't worth recognition. Maybe, maybe people just don't see who I am, or maybe that's because I'm not who I thought I was. And just this continual down on oneself. Maybe you are comparing yourself to everyone else and feeling as if you're coming up short. Maybe you have had a fall from grace. You climbed up on that pedestal and rang the bell, like, I've done it, I've succeeded, and then found out that maybe you hadn't. This is a point where we kind of just, it's a bit of a letdown after a high. So that's why I say it's a bit of a roller coaster kind of week. We start going, oh, it's just not fitting. And then we build ourselves up and then we drop off. And I have to say, I do feel like in some ways this is an energy that we have been experiencing quite a lot lately, because everything is changing. Everything in the world is changing. Everything inside of us personally is changing. And if you're doing the inner work, then you're uncomfortable a lot of the time. You're trying to redress the balance a lot of the time, because the way that the balance was is not the way that the balance is. And as soon as you find a new kind of normal for yourself, things shift again. It's just too much solar flares and big astrology and huge shifts in the world for us to really have the time and space to consolidate. So a lot of what this reading is saying to me, excuse me, also is that we need to be able to find some time to process. And Taurus is all about processing that energy. So it's a very important time for you to check in. Where am I not giving myself that space? And how do I do that? Because I do need to build myself up. I do need to feel like a boss. I do need to tap into what is my pride? Who are my people? I do need to find time to let my hair down and have fun. And I'm not always going to get it right, but my failures are just as important as my successes, especially in times like these, because things that would have been successful suddenly may not be anymore. And ideas that are suddenly floating to us that seem completely ridiculous might actually be the exact thing that the new earth that we're all creating and all a part of is requiring from us. So you need a little bit of space to be lazy, to daydream. Taurus brings in those things. Taurus is a hardworking sign. Slow and steady wins the race. However, Taurus also knows how to stop and smell the roses. And I think that's an important message for us here. We maybe got a little too enthusiastic and speedy at some point in this week, and then realized that we threw the balance perhaps even further out than before. I hope this has been helpful. Please like, follow, share, subscribe if you enjoy my work, and I will be back again with you next week.